Nice. Okay. We'll put our timer on for 60 minutes of moving meditation tonight. So building your heart bed, making sure that your heart is nice and broad and wide and lifted. Remember, if your chin is feeling like it's way up to the ceiling and the neck is exposed, then you might need a little bit more underneath the bolster, so a little higher at the head. And you can build yourself a waterfall pillow by rolling a blanket and then placing the back of your skull right on top of that. And maybe a light little rock. So on any given day, if you've been really active, the muscles down the back could become a little bit more contracted, a little shorter. And so that's when we want to do something like that. Or if you've been in discomfort with the muscles of the back body, whatever that is. So let yourself get good and comfortable. Take care of yourself where you are in this moment. So if you always do something, you always have the legs out first, then take your time splaying the legs and have the knees bent for a moment or two. Allow yourself to settle in maybe a little differently tonight by pressing into the feet and lifting the sit bones, lengthen them down and then lower. And notice that lower spine, knowing that pain is not an option. So if lifting and lowering brings an electrical jolt into the body or a little discomfort or pain of some sort, even dull ache, just gently bring a blanket underneath the sit bones and build the floor to you, and then settle into stillness. Heel toe your feet a little wider. Toes can come inward and inner knees can knock. So that you can sense a slackening of the bands running up and down the spinal column, all the way down into the lower back. Or you can gently lengthen through one leg at a time and feel all the way up that leg to the back, to the shoulders, and then the other. And just feel for a moment how that is for you. You can even let the toes wriggle wherever you are. And allow the whole body to settle. The eyes are closed. And feel for a moment, what is it like to surrender here? The whole entire body. On this beautiful first day of March. And what does that mean for you? We have so many exciting things in March. We spring forward in this northern hemisphere. So our time changes. Our light gets a little bit longer, so our bodies are charged up a little longer. So you might need a practice like this more often. It's like putting money in the bank and allowing the body to recharge. It's a great use of your time. So as you settle into this passive back bend, feel into the shoulders. Let the knuckles remain heavy. Send one palm down and the other one remains up. Give the thumbs a little press. And then alternate. One palm comes down while the other one is up. Feel where the thumbs are. Maybe a press. From side to side, under-efforted. A light little roll as you feel the floor underneath the palms, the wrists, the forearm, and the elbow. Notice the floor, your foundation. Roll one palm down while the other one remains up. For one more this side. One more the other side. And then allow the knuckles to remain heavy. And feel from the fingertips to the elbow to the shoulder. Take a deep breath. And exhale it all out. Let's form our intention for our practice now. Is there anyone in your life, in your family, in your community, someone that you've heard of in the world, that you'd like to offer some of this loving kindness, some of your practice, some of this ease, the self-love? Go ahead and breathe their essence in now. You don't have to know their name. The intention is all you need, that pure intent. And one more breath, just like that. We'll allow that to be the magic carpet. We drift all the way inward. That mystery. So go ahead and take that next breath in through the nose, nice and full and deep, a light little pause filled. Exhale, cleanse it out through the mouth, a natural sigh. One more just like that. Inhale through the nose. Hold. Exhale through the mouth. Come into a light ujjayi breath now. Inhale through the nose. And exhale through the nose. Notice how nasal breathing is now. In through the nose. And out through the nose. Ujjayi meaning victorious. So generating this victorious sensation, this prana, this vital life energy. Very simply done. In through the nose and out through the nose. We'll bring this into 3-part breath by bringing one palm on the lower belly and one palm just above that. On your next inhale through the nose, you'll feel the lower belly rise first, and then the top. As the breath flows out, the top hand comes down first, and then the bottom. As you inhale, the bottom hand lifts first, and then the top. A light little pause, and as you exhale, the top lowers, and then the bottom. Like a wave of breath, inhaling, that bottom rises first as you fill those lungs, then the top hand. As you exhale and empty those lungs, the bottom, the top lowers, and then the bottom. Inhaling that bottom hand, then the top. Exhale the top, then the bottom. You might be on a different rhythm than I am. Feeling that inhale. Notice that bottom hand rise, and then the top. It might be micro movement. But with the eyes closed, it might feel very big in the body. This is a beautiful breath for that solar plexus area. So feeling that silk-like muscle of the solar plexus rising and falling as we move like this. So sometimes that can become stuck, sticky, stagnant. So beautiful breath for that awareness. So 3 more. Inhaling, that bottom hand rises, then the top. Exhaling, the top lowers first and then the bottom. A great use of your time. Stay with it. This might feel like work right about now. Those abdominal muscles might start fatiguing. For 1 more here, bottom rises as you inhale, then the top. Exhale that top and then the bottom. Let the hands rest by your side. Fill up the lower belly, the whole entire belly. And as you exhale, surrender. Let the belly move now as you breathe into your natural breath. Notice what you feel. That fullness, that depth of the breath. This oxygen advantage now from temples to toes, feeding every cell exactly what it needs at exactly the right timing. So 1 more breath, just like that. And if your legs are splayed out on your next natural breath, go ahead and point the toes up. Drag 1 heel. Feel that foot plant and root, and then the other. Drag the sit bones over to one side and let yourself roll to the other and come flat while you press your props off to one side. Come flat on your spinal column and just notice what that's like. Lengthen through the legs if that's available. So we don't put up with in our yoga practice. If there's any pain, then leave the knees bent, heel toe them wider, and have the inner knees knock. That will slacken the bands up and down the spine. But if it feels okay to lengthen, please do. With the arms by your side, knuckles heavy, scan the body. Feel the toes wriggle. The heels, roll the toes from one side to the other. Feel the rounding of the heel as it rolls on the floor. Pause that effort as the awareness drifts into the calf. Give a light little press from the shin bone down into that calf, and then relax that. Notice that deep relaxation into the knee, all the way into the upper thigh, with a light little press of the quadricep, top thigh down into the bone, all the way down, down, downward. And then relax and feel the fullness of the muscles as they loosen their grip. Notice the sit bones. Feel a magnetic pull towards each other, a light little lift. And as you lower, feel those muscles relax and soften just a little more. That lower back broadening and widening. Notice how far it is off the floor. All the way to the mid-spine of the thoracic. fanning broad and wide to the back of the shoulders as they take up all this beautiful space after a long held back bend. A light little rock of the back of the skull. Sense and feel the sensation in the neck. Is it similar on one side and the other? Are there some differences? Noticing that. And then pause into your stillness, dive deep through the brow to where you think the center of the brain lives. Feel the breath enter. And as you exhale, this surrender, as the body softens and lets go. And one more breath, just like that, as you feel into your starting point right here. And then go ahead and point the toes up and drag one heel and plant that foot and then the other. Leave the arms by your side, but press into the feet and lift the pelvis. Feel now it tilt and then lower the pelvis so that the tail might come upward as you lengthen and then lower 2 or 3 times, just like that. And then relax that effort. We're going to come into a somatic twist now. So feel where the feet are. Notice where the knees are. They're pointed up. And where the arms are, downward. One palm is down and one palm is up. I want you to gaze now your inner eyes with the eyes closed into that pendiculation, into that muscle effort here. So we're going to give a light little squeeze with the palm that's down. That hip is going to float up, but not yet. And that shoulder is going to press down, but not quite yet. I want you to notice that as we come into this a little more. So with the palm that's up, eyes are closed, let the knees gently sway over to that palm. Feel the baby toe edge. That knee comes closer to the floor. Big toe edge, that knee can come upward. Notice that hip comes up, that shoulder down. Pause there. Notice the hip that's up, the shoulder that's down. Let the head roll in that general direction and pause. And now press that lower spine into the floor. Let the knees come up and pause there for a moment. Notice that lower spine, shoulder, hip, and then one palm up, alternate, one palm down, so other side. Let the knees sway to the palm that's up. Baby toe edge knee comes lower. Big toe edge knee stays a little higher. Feel that hip peel up off of the floor. That shoulder comes closer to the floor. Pause. Notice that squeeze of the muscles. Let the head roll towards that. Notice what that feels like in your body in this moment. And then press that lower spine into the mat, into the floor, and pause there. Notice the lower spine from hip to hip, all the way up to the shoulders. And now we'll come in and out of this smoothly, gracefully. Knees point to the palm that's up. Head rolls to the other. Shoulder down while the hip comes upward. A light little pause. Pressing through that navel center as you flatten that lower spine into the floor. Roll the palms. Fluid-like motion, smooth, feathering in and out of sensation here. So as the hip comes up, shoulder down, you might be in the crescendo, the peak of sensation right there. And then as you press into that lower spine, it might just feel good. Coming right over to the other side. Feel noticing the head roll to the opposite of the knees as the hip comes up, the opposite shoulder down. Side to side now. Feel your way into this cleansing twist. As we wring out, coming into all of those little squeezes and releases of the shoulders through the fingers to the arms, the neck as the head rolls from side to side, the hips and that lower back. Notice what you notice. This is one that is safe to do for 10 to 12 times. So a lot of these somatic maneuvers, 2 or 3 or 4 are plenty. This is a beautiful integrative one where you can do more. So how about one more each side? Feeling and sensing what this pose feels like now with time. Maybe a little bit more elastic. Working out the kinks. Then come into a body scan with the knees bent by heel toeing the feet wide, toes in and knock the inner knees. Leave the palms on the lower belly so that you can sense and feel through them, all the way through that lower spine, down into the floor. Give the back of the skull a light little rock as you feel the tipping spot of the head. Notice one side of the neck and the other now. Then pause and feel into the shoulders, through the side body, all the way to the hips, through the legs. Notice any vibration, this frequency that runs through. This dull ache that might be melting and dissolving outward. And one more breath, just like that. And then go ahead and drag the hips over to one side while you roll to the other and come up to seated. So this is one pose that you might want to have a little elevation under the hips for some of you if you're collapsing back. We're not going to be here for very long. So this is a variation of lighthouse, and it's a lot with the hips. So bring one hand over to one side. Leave your other hand right into your hip. And you'll feel now the legs are like a V, so they're just outward from each other. Where the hand is, let yourself roll to that side, close the eyes, and where the hand on the hip is, feel it rise. Feel that hip rise, and then press it back down into the floor. Stay on that side. So feel that whole leg now. You'll feel the big toe edge come down as the hip comes up, very similar to our twist. And then press that hip down. So we're bringing big awareness into these hips. So the hip will come up as you come over to that side. The big toe edge of the foot will rest into the floor. The hand will press it down. This is one where 2 or 3 or 4 is plenty. So how about one more for good luck? And then pause. The hands can be like teepees, where the fingertips are just behind the hips, so that you can feel that stability as you sit with the eyes closed. Feel from the hips to the shoulders, all the way to the center of the brain. Take a deep breath and exhale it all out. Let's come on over to the other side. Bring the hand to the hip. Roll over to that side and feel that lift of that hip. The hand can offer a little help of that hip to come down. And then you'll continue. Lift. Feel the big toe edge of the foot. And then you lower. And again, feel the smoothness, the stickiness. Maybe you're jumping over a few spots. And one more for good luck. Then feel the fingertips just behind the hips. Eyes are closed. Notice the sit bones, the legs, the shoulders, all the way to the center of the brain. We're going to bring that now from side to side. So go ahead and reach with one arm all the way over, just like you're going to grab something, and then you switch and alternate. That hand will come down. The other hand reaches across the body. Feel the legs spin to the floor, big toe edge roots. And then you come smooth and slow like the second hand on a clock. Deliberate movement here. The arm can go a little higher as you go ahead and grab those treats that are just right there. Maybe it's picking apples. Feeling and sensing. For one more each side, noticing that spinning quality of the body, the hips, the lower back, the shoulders. This communication, coordination from top to bottom. As the top half speaks to the lower half, go ahead and now and come down with the knees bent all the way down to the mat. Eyes closed, scan the body by lengthening through the legs, arms by your side, knuckles heavy. Scan from the heels through the calf. Feel the back of the knees to the thigh. Sit bones through that lower spine to the mid spine to the shoulders. Give the back head a light little rock. And a ha. So here's where this is the pose that we did all of that for. Go ahead and spin the toes to point up. Drag one heel and plant the foot, and then the other. So we're going to come into hula hips or around the clock. So we'll come into this first with the hands on either side of the bowl of the pelvis, called the iliac crest. So those protrusions that come outward on the sides, the hands can rest there. Go ahead and press into the right foot. Let that hip peel up off of the floor. And then use that hand to place it back down. Come on over to the other side. The other side can press. You'll feel that foot. The hip can come upward. How high is up to your body. So maybe for your body, it's as high to get enough to get a piece of paper under, or maybe it loves to go a little higher. Explore. Let curiosity guide you here. As one hip comes up, the other lowers. From side to side for one more this way. And then one more that way. And so one hip can be 3 o'clock, the other hip can be 9 o'clock. You can pause there. The tail is 6 o'clock, and the top of the pelvis just below the navel is 6 o'clock, and the navel is 12 o'clock. So here we go. Lift one hip and place the hand palm down right underneath that part of the pelvis and roll onto those knuckles. Place the other hand underneath that so that the thumbs touch and the first finger touches, creating a diamond shape right at the sacrum. And just notice that. As you inhale, feel that 6 o'clock, the tail, come over the fingertips. And as you exhale into the navel, notice how it flattens and it tips right over the thumbs. And you can exaggerate that if it feels good. So deliberately now, as you inhale, you'll arc. And as you exhale, you'll flatten and tip all the way from top to bottom now. Inhaling and feeling the pelvis move like this. Nice and fluid-like, smooth, as you feather in and out of sensation. And then pause that effort, but leave the hands there for the first part. It'll feed back into the brain just a little quicker. So we'll go around the clock now. So we're going to go around the outer edges of the pelvis, like flicking a coin on the counter and it wobbles. That's what our pelvis is going to do. Or like a hula hip. We're a hula dancer here. So let's start on the right side. So press into that right foot and let that hip peel up and feel how heavy the other side is. Go ahead and spin around the top of the thumbs and come on over to the other side. All the way through the tail. Notice how that tail comes down. And then floating over to the other side like a dance. Through to the thumbs slowly. One hip is heavy while the other one's light. Slowly to the fingertips comes the tail, and you can start to speed it up just a wee bit. And then the other direction, just noticing if you can. Feeling and sensing from the inside out now. Let the body speak in sensation. So notice where that heightened sensation is. Pain is not an option. And then now take the hands out And continue. Let the pelvis gently rock and roll. The hands can be on top, maybe, so you can sense this dance. Or for some of you, you might even want the palms to interlace behind the back of the skull. And just feel for a moment the pelvis rocking and rolling with the fingers interlaced behind the back of the skull. And then the other direction. And then when you feel complete, that was a big dance of joy there, go ahead and come into a scan by lengthening through the legs. And notice your targeted area of the pelvis. Any temperature differences from one side to the other. Feeling and sensing all the way down through the legs. To the shoulders, to the center of the brain. And Then go ahead and bend up one knee at a time. Draw the hips to one side and roll to your other, and use your lower arm as a pillow. So we're going to come into catwalk. So this is a really nice one to coordinate the top with the bottom. So go ahead and feel that top leg resting on the bottom leg, the arm resting on that top edge, and let that hip float forward. You'll feel the drag of your pants as that top knee just outreaches. It just comes a little bit further forward, and then drag it back and let that hip come back. The hand can rest on that hip. And then notice that hip come forward and the drag of the clothes as the knee comes forward, that top knee, and then drag that hip back. 2 or 3. So one more, let the hip come forward. And then drag that top hip back. And then now let's coordinate it with the shoulder. So now the shoulder comes back, and then let the shoulder, top shoulder, come forward. It can roll back so the arm can rest on your top edge, and you might feel it roll. So as the shoulder comes forward, you might feel the arm roll, the wrist roll on that outer edge. So simply rolling the top shoulder forward and then back. And as you're doing so, just notice what's happening to the hip. Shoulder gently rocking and rolling. And then pause. We're going to do the opposite now. So opposing forces. You're going to allow the hip to come back while the shoulder comes forward. And as the shoulder comes back, the hip will come forward. See if you can bring this in a smooth, continuous movement. Shoulder forward, hip back. Hip forward, shoulder back. As you do so, pause in each location and notice the muscles that contract. As the shoulder comes forward, you might feel the front of the spine, the belly contract a little bit. And as the shoulder comes back and the hip forward, you might feel an arcing sensation all the way down that top side of the spine, all the way through to the hip. Notice that. And maybe one more for good luck. Then go ahead and roll onto your back. Leave the knees bent, but leave heel toe the feet wide so the inner knees will knock in that effortless effort. Arms by your side so you can sense and feel now as you divide the body up through the center. Feel that top edge. Whatever was your top, feel from the toes to the knee, to the hip, and then from one hip to the other. Does one hip feel like it's moving? I know it does on me. And sometimes it'll feel a little fuller, a little broader and wider, or a little lighter. All the way into the shoulder. A lot going on in catwalk. So let's leave enough time for this valuable information to feed right back through to the center of the brain. So how about 2 more breaths just like this? As you relax through the jaw just a little more, soften the shoulders, and take a deep breath. And then we'll come on over to the other side. So go ahead and drag the hips over, roll, and use that lower arm as a pillow. Top leg rests in that lower leg. Top arm on that edge, top edge of the body. Feel that top hip now and drag it forward. And then go ahead and drag it back and feel the drag between the material of the inseam. As the knee comes forward, the hip carries it forward, and then that top hip carries it back. And then one more just like that. Let it carry it forward and then back. And then let the hips rest now for a moment and feel the top shoulder when you're ready and let it roll forward. Notice how the arm will rotate and let the shoulder carry all the way back. The arm might spin. Shoulder forward and then back. There's no perfect here. So with the eyes closed, just sense and feel how the shoulder, this connection towards the hip, does it move the hip just a wee bit forward and back? As it comes forward, can you feel that front of the belly? A contraction in the chest. As it rolls back, can you feel that contraction down that top part of the spinal column, shoulder area? One more just like that. Feeling and sensing all these bits and pieces. And then rest. Take a breath in that rest. It's as important. And then we'll come into those opposing forces. So the hip can come back as the shoulder comes forward. Hit the pause button there and notice. And then let the shoulder roll back as the hip moves forward. Hit the pause button there. Feel the muscles that are required. And then now we simply move shoulder in the opposite direction of the hip. Noticing what you feel. Does it feel like rocket science in your body tonight? Or does it feel easy? Does it just feel delicious? Your body's just eating it up. It can go either way. There's no good or bad. Just noticing what you feel. Perfect. So let the shoulder for one more come one way as the hip goes the other. Hip moves the opposite way of the shoulder. And then you can scan the body as you roll onto your back and feel and sense. As you divide the body in that midline, that center highlighted navel center, feel the top edge all the way from the toes through the leg to the pelvis, from one side to the other, the weight, the fullness, the temperature changes. Notice when it starts to integrate and balance out, or if it does. All the way there through the torso to the shoulders. You can give the back of the skull a little rock as you feel into the neck now, the shoulders. Go ahead and bend up at the knees. You'll drag the hips to one side as you roll up and grab your mighty Mitra. If you have the Mitra, it will be stripe up. If you're using a pool noodle, any which way. If you're rolling your blanket, then have it the length of your spine. Firm it up. Make sure that it's nice and tight. So if you're using a pool noodle or the Mitra, you will have it right at the bra strap, thereabouts. And once you feel that, then interlace your fingers behind your head, lengthen, and then lower. And once you think that you have it exactly where it needs to be, press through the sternum, that little notch, your xiphoid process, right below the sternum. And you'll want to be right directly on the other side of that. So you can press through the feet and lift the sit bones so that you have a little bit of weight coming down. So energetically you can sense where it is. And then lower. Arms by your side. Wherever you are, coming into a light little twist. So go ahead and let the knees come on over to one side where the palm is up. The other palm can be down. Coming into a light little twist. Rotating one palm up, one palm down, and the knees sway from side to side. Nice and slow. Maybe one leg moves first, and then the other follows. You can leave the arms exactly where they are, or they can move in a different spot. And just notice what that does for your sensation. If this feels good, stay with that. Or you could bring your bolster underneath the legs. If you don't have a bolster, it can be anything that you have handy so that you can bring the soles of your feet together and the outer legs can rest. And then where the arms are can be like arms of a clock. So you can slowly move one arm and rest it. You can spin the other arm so the palm is down and then the palm is up. Or you can stay in complete stillness. And one more minute here. And one more breath. A light little roll off to one side. Take the Mitra out above the crown. If it's not the Mitra that's easily taken out, just roll to your side and swish it off and come nice and flat on the back. The legs can drape over your bolster or blanket or cushion. Or if you're craving flat, please do. Use a blanket to keep you warm and anything that you'd like to place on the eyes. Just notice how that feels. Notice how the body can relax just a little bit more as you connect to that inner grin. The corners of your mouth can curl up. As you pour a little bit of love, a little bit of that self-love into this relaxation. Relax through the jaw a little more and feel how the muscles can loosen their grip. And the cards that were drawn for our practice tonight. Divine stability. During times of transition, this message shares its energy to provide stability. Divine stability. During times of transition, this message shares its energy to provide stability. The other that fell out at the same time was divine strength. We are often stronger than we give ourselves credit for. Divine strength. We're often stronger than we give ourselves credit for. Go ahead and let the breath deepen here. Come into the fingers and the toes with some light movement. A long, luxurious stretch. A hug from side to side. As you wake up into your new normal, notice how that feels now. Roll on one side. Feel and sense all that warmth within. That powerful you. Use that strength now to press into the floor. Let the head remain heavy as you roll up into your comfortable seat. Let yourself be comforted by your props so you can elevate the sit bones. The knees do not have to bend. Any shape that you feel that is better, come on into it. Notice the length of your spinal column as you sit. Eyes are closed. Feel through the palate, through the crown, and how tall you feel. The shoulders, balance, hips, stable. Go ahead and bring the palms together and feel that warmth of appreciation towards yourself for showing up. Thumbs at the sternum with a light little press of support. Take a breath into all of that support. And then a light little bow as you pour this out beyond these walls as loving kindness to all. Namaste. And thank you for your practice.